And we're joined by Michael Opitz. Michael, you have a long history in North Georgia in political theater, if you will. I know that you attended the Cobb County Commission town hall that was occurred last Thursday evening, and the purpose of that town hall was to discuss the recently announced move of the Atlanta Braves to Cobb County. More specifically, it was called because of issues I think that were raised with the commission by the public at large regarding what was perceived to be, while probably a positive event, something that the public knew very little about. So I just, if I can real quickly, wanted to, for the audience, talk about the fact matter, where the stadium will be located at, and just a little bit about the economics of it. So the stadium would be located right off of Interstate 75 in Cobb County, Georgia, and it's about 12 to 15 miles north of where the current stadium is located at, and it's pretty well located in terms of access. Generally speaking, it's on at the convergence point for Interstate 285, which is the main east-west connector, if you will, that connects Interstate 85, Interstate 20, and the I-75 corridor, as well as having a U.S. highway, Highway 41, that is one of the junction points there. So, however, it's also the case that that's a very heavily traveled interchange. So just to kind of set the stage. Michael, have you got any thoughts before we talk a little bit about the issues that were raised this past evening?
Certainly, yes. This is a very, very busy intersection within Cobb County. And as you described, the stadium location is adjacent and north of I-285, the circle around Atlanta, and adjacent to Interstate 75 there west of I-75 and east of US 41. So it's an area that is long been known to be a traffic bottleneck, especially at rush hour traffic. And discussions, we've heard discussions for years, what can we do to eliminate the traffic problem in Cobb County? That's been a 15-year plus discussion, and the stadium is certainly going to add an area of magnitude in terms of traffic for those sporting events. That's far outside any normal traffic flow where there already is a problem. I think that's important to know in going forward, because there are lots of residents in that area who are concerned about their home values. Even, I won't say even more important, but this has just sprung to life in front of us. On November 11th, one of the participants in last night's citizen input stated that she woke up the morning of November the 11th and heard on the news that the Braves were going to be the Atlanta Braves baseball team was going to be relocating to Cobb County, and that was a shock to her, and that was my reaction as well as a lot of other folks' reaction as well, because there had been no discussion from citizens and the Cobb County government officials as to the impact on Cobb County and citizens' wishes, and understanding all the details of the financial details on how this is going to be funded, and to what extent does Cobb County government need to play a role in funding private enterprise. So there are a lot of folks who, a lot of citizens who have questions, and this was the first opportunity to begin the vetting process. But there's a lot of frustration and anger too, because the Cobb County Commission intends to vote this coming Tuesday, with only 3 days of input last night being the first one, and then 2 more meetings on Monday with Cobb County commissioners, and then they vote on Tuesday. So the public is trying to find out what are the details, and at the same time pushing back strongly that we need time before any vote is taken. And I know of one group already that is pushing for a 60-day delay in the Cobb County Commission vote so that we can have a period of full discussion and understanding. And that's a minimum of a 60-day delay. And it was asked last night by one of the respondents in the meeting, participants in the meeting, to Tim Lee, the Cobb County Commission chair, is there any deadline that we must meet that, if not met, would jeopardize the deal, the so-called pending deal of the Atlanta Braves moving to Cobb County? And Cobb County Commission Chairman Tim Lee stated no. There was not any concern about missing any deadlines that would jeopardize the deal. Well, that further fanned the point that why not have time for delay and a full vetting. And questions were asked about has an economic impact study been completed yet? And the answer to our surprise, well, not really to our surprise, was no, one had not been completed yet, but it was underway. So then the question is, well, wouldn't it be prudent to wait until we understand the economic impact, which Commissioner Lee and Commissioner Gorham essentially dismissed as not being needed, that enough of it was understood that we'll go ahead and complete the economic impact study, but we're going to vote to go ahead proceed with our commitment from Cobb County on Tuesday. That left even more people scratching their heads with more questions. Then the question was asked on a transportation impact study, which resulted in a long speech by the head of the Cobb County Transportation, in which he stated that, they have been planning ahead, and they always plan ahead, and not to worry, traffic would be taken care of. Well, obviously, she did not have time. That department, the Cobb County Department of Transportation, did not have time to model in this new facility that will bring a multifold increase in traffic patterns and traffic to Cobb County whenever games are played. And there are going to be other events around the stadium that on a daily basis, not just on game day, that will also add to the increase in traffic. So no, they had not had time to build in that multifold increase in traffic, but she dismissed it out of hand as not being necessary. And that again raised more questions. Why are we pushing forward so quickly with this when not all the questions have been answered? But as usual, the people in government say, don't worry, trust us, we know best for you. And a matter of fact, underscoring that, one of the folks in last night's meeting, Elizabeth Reside, asked Commissioner Chairman Tim Lee, Commission Chairman Tim Lee, quote, have you thought about asking taxpayers if we want to put forth this money? And Tim Lee did not answer the question and moved on to the next question, at which point the crowd, the audience, and a large majority of the audience began shouting, you did not answer the question, and demanded that he answer the question. So he then turned back to the mic and with a very, very loud no. Yeah, so the answer was that no, he had not wanted any statements or assessment by the Cobb County voters, and it was not his intention to have any. And so we find that the ruling class at all levels, we elect these people, think that they're good people, and then they turn out with their own agendas and do not want any impact from the citizens and the voters. And that's disturbing. It's a disturbing trend both nationally as well as nationwide.
Yeah, I found it remarkable and somewhat confusing. I mean, again, I had assumed that the purpose of a town hall was to hear the input of the citizenry to their elected representatives. Commissioner Lee is one of those representatives. But you're right. I mean, I think the specific question put to him was, will there be a referendum? And there was definitely a resounding no. And
yes, and that was another question. Will there be a referendum?
Yeah, there was definitely no. So I guess my question is, what was the point of the exercise? So, but at any rate, I mean, to me, that, and to your earlier point, that really opens up the question of what does the democratic process look like? I know that historically this has been the way that local politics has been played, i.e. the power elite typically make the decisions that they believe to be in the best interest of the citizenry, but typically it turns out to be in the best interest of a very narrow class of the citizenry, i.e. The moneyed class generally. So, but I guess my question is, where do you see that changing? I know there's been the Tea Party movement and then some even more fundamentalist, I guess, or more radical parts of or more radical groups have arisen, such as the Ron Paul folks, the Campaign for Liberty, who are even more strongly libertarian than the Tea Party. What do you see playing out, and how do you see that affecting local politics at this point?
The dynamics are interesting, and if we can go back in history and look at the demise and the emergence of political parties, the Whig Party fell out of favor because, not through any one edict, but they were not being responsive to the interest of the citizens of that time, and so the Whig Party disintegrated, and the Republican Party took its place, primarily centered around one issue, and that is was the abolition of slavery. So that took the party was formed around that core issue, and then later expanded into other issues. What we see now, I think, is the reshuffling of strategic alliances, and the dynamics of the party as the Democrat Party moves further to the left, if I may use that term, and the Republican Party the mainstream Republican Party has also shifted to the left, and that has left a vacuum for a lot of folks, and we may call them Tea Party folks. But these folks are not extremists, although they're being painted as extremists by both the mainstream Republican Party or the Republican Party elite and the Democrats. The Tea Party folks are people who are constitutionalist, and the Constitution is the only thing, the only glue that keeps our country together. So as we see more abuse and disregard of the Constitution by both parties in Washington, as people become more educated and aware of the Constitution, that we must follow and adhere to the Constitution. And if we keep making exceptions to the Constitution, then gradually it fades away and becomes a worthless document, then to be replaced by those in political power. And that's the kind of thing that we see playing out in Washington right now with the latest instance, in this case Obamacare, and this is what we see playing out here in Cobb County, Georgia. And I often refer to Cobb County, Georgia, as River City. If you've ever seen The Music Man, River City is middle America, wholesome America. And that's the way Cobb County has always been. But we see that in Georgia and Cobb County, people can't get elected. Democrats can't get elected, or they find a very difficult time getting elected running as Democrats. So many of them have said, "Oh, I've just made a spontaneous conversion, and I am now a Republican," even though their principles haven't changed. And the Republican Party in Georgia says, "Hooray, we've gotten another convert," without ever asking if their values have changed. They are elected to office. Then we find out who they really are. And once in office, the terrible thing about a democracy is that the people are not as well informed as they need to be. And that's why political campaigns cost so much to get out the 2 or 3 points. So if somebody has money, they can get out the 2 or 3 points and get the voters who listen with only half an ear to go vote for them, while those who study the issues and are very involved with this understand who these people are and mount a campaign against them, which so often loses. And of course, that brings us to the problem that we've got here in Georgia. We've had for the past 11, 12 years voting machines that do not provide a ballot, so you can't determine whether your election is fraudulent or not, because there is no audit trail, and no matter if you lose by only one vote, recounts are impossible.
Yeah, this again, the constitutional issues certainly, I think, form the backbone for what every state and local government should strive to be, and I guess that's my big concern when I heard the conversation last night. We're talking about an initiative that has a 30-year life. I mean, their hope is they keep the Braves in Cobb County longer than 30 years, but certainly it's going to be a 30-year initiative with the economics tied to that. I didn't hear any great stories about huge returns on investment. I think the numbers were $6 to $7 million in potential additional tax revenues. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that was the number that was bandied about for an initiative that will likely cost north of, now not that this is public expense, but the stadium itself will certainly cost somewhere between $400 and $500 million, I would think, to put together. So. Yeah,
they were talking about the deal being costing right at $630 million, and the numbers seem to be shifting. That the Braves would put up $300 million, and then Cobb would put up the remainder through various sources of funding. But it's so important that the citizens understand all the details, because in the end, the citizens are left paying the bill through higher taxes. Yeah. And if they have, of course, have assured us that taxes really aren't going to go up on this. But the question was asked, yes, you've signed a 30-year contract with the Braves, but what if they decide that they want to move to another location or even move out of state, as we've seen baseball and football teams relocate in the past? What's going to bind them to, after spending all of this money, to this location in Cobb County after we have made such a tremendous contribution toward the stadium? And Commission Chairman Tim Lee's answer was, well, there are penalty clauses. And then the next question was, can you share with us what that penalty clause is? What does that mean? How much money would they have to forfeit? And is that on a, you have to ask, is that on a declining scale? What is that would bind them here? And his answer, although astounding, did not surprise any of us. The answer was, we're still in negotiation on those points. And then the next question, immediate follow-up, was, well, don't you think it would be a good idea before voting to fund this and commit Cobb County to this project to understand what the penalty clause is should they decide to leave in 5 years or 12 years? And you never know what kind of events occur. And his answer, no, we understand enough about the future that we feel comfortable with it. Nobody completes a contract like that without a penalty, with understanding a full penalty clause. You just don't do it. And then the other question is, Well, it's going to be funded by revenue bonds. Well, what happens if the stadium does not meet that revenue generation? What are the contingency plans, and what do those studies indicate? Well, we have looked at it. His answer was, we have looked at it, and we feel comfortable with the revenue projections that we have in place. Well, we don't know what revenue projections these folks have, where they've at 100% capacity, or whether it's an 80% capacity, and then what is the margin of error. None of those studies, as far as we can see, have been conducted, and certainly they have not been available to the public, as they are rushing headlong to push this thing through before the citizens can mount enough of a force to, and when I say stop it, what I'm really saying is at least delaying it so we can understand the good business principles and economics that any person and organization, when making a financial investment, takes the time really to review and read the fine print. Even in the closing of a house, you've got an attorney going through that, making sure that everybody understands what is happening. So when you get a loan for a business, you have to understand all the business consequences and the liabilities. And we are just, that's all swept away with a wave of the hand and a verbal assurance that don't worry, we know best, and we're happy with it. And then you have to ask the question, what kind of money is flowing underneath the table here that's making people want to move this fast before people find out, before the citizens find out the details? And as everybody knows, the devil is in the details.
Yeah, I spent a few minutes over the past day just doing a quick comparative study, and when I looked at another municipality not far away, Chattanooga, where they opened in 1992 a world-class aquarium. It's been quite successful. And that was a public-private consortium or a public-private initiative. But what I found when I studied that was that the planning that ultimately ended up in opening that facility and has since grown to have caused the opening of 100 other businesses in that immediate metropolitan area. That planning actually began in 1984, so there was 8 years of planning that went into that initiative, and I'm just dumbfounded when I hear that a decision will be made on this with apparently no public input next week. So,
yeah, and it was interesting to note last night, and the this large assembly room was filled with people, and it looked like almost half the people were wearing T-shirts that supported the Cobb County Commission's decision to move forward with the Braves Stadium, saying with statements like we've hit a home run with the Braves. And so the people and I looked at who the folks were, and a lot of them I recognized as Cobb County employees, and others who are a member of the Cobb County Chamber of Commerce. There may have some regular citizens there. Of course, I don't know everybody, but there was a strong contingency of that group. And the questions and answers seemed to disintegrate into a political rah-rah meeting. So when a question was asked, either for someone who is for it or someone who is questioning, I don't know that anybody came out strongly and said we're against it. Everybody just said, we want more information and this is moving too fast. Let's delay it for 60 days at a minimum so we can really understand all the ramifications. But when a question was asked and responded to by Commissioner Helen Gorham or Commission Chair Tim Lee, where they gave a resounding answer that was very, very strongly positive, Braves stadium, then there were cheers in the audience, and that astounded me. I've participated in many business, high-level business meetings and low-level business meetings up and down the corporate structure, and nowhere have I heard, as we're discussing any business situation, where people then would start cheering over the answer. And this is a serious business meeting, not a political rally. Let's build this stadium because we're Republicans, or let's build this stadium because we're Democrats and we understand the right way. But that was the impression that was given to a lot of us.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think clearly if you looked at, in fact, it's my understanding that a local businessman that is going to be a beneficiary, or believes he'll be a beneficiary of this, actually provided the uniforms, if you will, the shirts that they were all wearing. So that was a well-staged event. I know there was a lot of local media there. And it's kind of interesting to me, as hard as they work to try and make that a positive informational event, if you will, that there was much more press on the negatives that occurred, and in fact the negatives, I think, far overwhelmed the positive message. And then I don't want to, I've not made a decision myself at this point. I've got two boys that live in the Cobb County area. This could be of definite financial or economic benefit for them over the long term. One of them actually favors it, and I know you have sons, and one son that is still in the area, so it certainly would be something you'd want to think about as we look ahead. But this is not the way it's done, in my opinion. So my question to you, Michael, is obviously this needs some more thought, some more consideration. Not saying it's a bad idea, just saying it's an idea that needs some real public review. It's the public's money, irrespective of how they try and paint it, Cobb County or the Cumberland CID, whoever's on the hook. It's public money, and this needs a strong public review. What can we do? How you mentioned you've got a group forming. What actions can we take to slow this thing down?
Well, this fast rush to cross the finish line and sign the agreement, the MDU, I believe that was the term, on Tuesday, when the citizens don't know the details that we need to know, reminds me of Nancy Pelosi's statement that we've got to pass the thing. We've got to pass the bill in order to find out what's in it. And in this case, we won't know what's in it until after the commission has voted to pass it, when the citizens should have the last word on this. Anytime that you enter into any type of business bill, business arrangement, without a full vetting, especially by politicians. Going back, we can look at the corruption in Tammany Hall. When you've got a business deal that's moving forward this fast, you have to wonder what's going on behind the scenes. And it's the right of the public and the citizen to question that. Matter of fact, that not only the right, it's something that they absolutely must do in order to sustain a healthy government at all levels. If we do not have this review, and then we will continue having rapid deterioration in our country and our state. So what are we to do? There have been groups forming spontaneously. And the focus on the group from these groups is let's slow this thing down and not have any commission vote for a minimum of 60 days until we have a thorough citizens review. And it doesn't have to be a formal citizens committee for review, but we attend enough meetings and look at enough documentation, and there are lots of folks who are interested in doing this so that we understand all the details and not just trust those people who tell us that it's a good deal, because we've been burned for that many times. Every time we let that happen, we get burned on it. So we've learned the lessons the hard way. So a lot of citizens groups are very angry. There are, and these are groups from both the left and the right, and formed with people from all races. I attended a meeting the other night that primarily was comprised of black Democrats, and there were a few whites, and a total of 17 of us. And the one common theme from everybody, people who were supporting the building of the stadium and people who were opposing it because private funds should not be used, or public funds should not be used in private enterprises such as Solyndra and others. But the one common theme from everybody is that this is moving so fast that we must slow it down so that we can look at it and analyze it and understand it. And when politicians rush to these things through so quickly, they have other motives. So they're afraid of the impact. And matter of fact, Steve, the Commissioner Chair Tim Lee, when asked about voter feedback and voter input, he said no, they didn't want any. It's not desirable.
Yeah,
so,
sounds like doesn't sound like something I could support, and certainly not something I want to see without public review, without a citizens' review of what's occurring. Michael, I know that you've got a show that airs weekly. I hope you'll consider, and I know it's short notice, but I hope you consider trying to pull some of these people together that you're aware of that have these concerns, and possibly getting a show in with them, and let's at least get this on the public airwaves and try and get something underway to understand where we're headed. So. Michael,
I'll reach out. I'll reach out to some of the folks who are in the leadership role on this. But of course, the average citizen, we look at them. We want to encourage them to be in the leadership role and in demanding good, responsible government. So we will do that, and hopefully we'll be able to have that interview completed by Wednesday afternoon.
Okay, great. Michael, I'm going to post this to my website, Deciding the Vote, not post our conversation, and also post the raw video. My wife and I attended the meeting yesterday and recorded yesterday evening and recorded the full event. We'll put that up there, and I encourage the public to go look at that video and make their own decisions. But again, this is not the government not the way I would like to see government respond to the citizenry, and we'll leave it with that, and look forward to hearing from you next week. So,
well, James, that website again is important, so I would like to repeat it. It's www.decidingthevote.com. Please go there, and there are a lot of other audios and videos on different subjects, but this is one that's very important, not just to Cobb County, but I'm sure that there are other counties across the nation that are seeing the same kind of response from their county commissioners and county government, where the people are not those who are elected to those positions are not being responsive to the people, and it's time to vote them out, because ultimately it is we the people, the government of the people, for the people, and by the people. And James, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Strongly agree. Keep up the good fight, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, goodbye now.